Good morning or afternoon or whenever you watch this. How do you like this? Oh my goodness, I have just gotten mine and I love it. Yes, feral mama. Wild mama, feral mama. It's kind of the same thing. Maybe not quite. Hey, let me know if you can hear me all right. I am still working out the details with my new mic. So, make sure, drop me a comment. Tell me you can hear me. This morning, I wanted to do a quick breakdown, kind of a continuation about the conversation that we've been having quite a bit lately on the page. Hi, everybody. Okay, sounds good? Good. Thanks, Kathy. A continuation about the conversation that we've had on the page about noticing versus lusting. We've had there's been some really intense discussion on this. Like, is it possible to notice that someone is attractive without lusting? Well, if someone is living an active addiction where you have conditioned your mind to consume other humans for your gratification and your sexual arousal, it's probably not going to be possible for you to just notice and move on with your day, because you have trained your brain to do the opposite. However, that does not mean that humanly it is impossible, and it doesn't mean that if you notice that someone is an attractive person or has attractive qualities that you are automatically lusting. Now, betrayed spouses can really struggle with this because it sounds like it's a free pass, right? As long as their addicted spouse can say, oh, I was just noticing, I wasn't lusting, then they get a free pass, right? No, that is not the point. The point is that if you are in a healthy place and you have trained your mind not to consume other humans for sexual gratification, you can absolutely notice, hey, that's a beautiful woman, or wow, that's a really good looking guy, or that person is really fit, or that person just showed such kindness, and that's really attractive to me. And I just move right on with my day and never think about it again. There's no lingering, there's no lusting. So on one hand, it can be very freeing if you grew up being taught that if you even notice that a girl's pretty, you must be lusting after her and you should cast out the lustful thought, or you need to marry her because you thought she was pretty, so you lusted after her. That's really jacked up, you guys. That's a jacked up way to assume that you can't even notice the attractiveness or the beauty or the kindness of people around you without sinning in lust. On the other hand, if lust is your baseline, then it's going to take a ton of work and mental rewiring and surrendering that and setting it away and starving yourself of the lustful thoughts and lustful stimuli before you can find that healthy baseline. Here's part of the challenge, though. I've seen so much discussion about what is normal. Well, normal varies, because normal, as I tell my children, is just the mathematical average of everybody's weird. There is no absolute measurement of normal. Welcome to my train. Can you hear my train? Enter train, stage right. You'll see it whizzing by right there momentarily. So yeah, normal is everyone's average. It's a mathematical figure. We use normal to give ourselves a baseline of what is appropriate, but if we're honest, normal is a variable. Normal here in the southeastern United States is going to be a completely different set of variables, and it's going to set a completely different baseline than normal in early to mid-90s Russia, where I lived as a kid, as a teenager. Normal in Russia is going to be very different from normal in Central America. Normal in Australia is going to be very different from normal in Canada. There will be some things that carry over simply because we are talking about humanity. There will be similarities. There will be different things that are normal in all of these places. But if we are trying to decide what is normal based on the baseline of our local community, you might be immersed in a shockingly, violently dysfunctional local community. And the normal, if you average out to find kind of the middle road, the mean of, or the average of what is the baseline for normal in your community, that could be giving you a very skewed perception of normal. So when we have discussions about, I've seen comments along the lines of, when my husband and I were dating, he would look other girls up and down. I wish someone had told me that wasn't normal. Well, you know what? Maybe it was normal as a mathematical average of him and his friends. It might have been very normal for him. But just because something has been normalized does not mean that it is healthy. And we have to have two parallel discussions. There is the scientific data discussion of what is normal. And this is a super important discussion to have, because in order to discover what is normal in a larger sense, a broader community, we need thousands and thousands of people to study. You can't just do a poll of, or a survey of your 25 closest peers and decide that that is normal for the human race. It won't be. It's too small a sample size. Now, if you have 10,000 or 20,000 or 50,000 people from a variety of backgrounds, and then you have enough data to get some kind of baseline for what is normal. It's still going to be not necessarily representative of what is healthy. So we have to make sure we're not talking about two completely different mental tracks between normal and healthy. So, normal varies, and I posted this in one of my groups, but I decided I needed to do a video on it as well. So normal varies based on the collective sample. Normal varies based on so many factors. For example, doctrine, culture, age range, marital status, family background. These are all going to affect how someone is viewed to be normal by their peers. Normal is peer-to-peer comparison in most cases when we're just sociologically talking about what we decide to be normal. So if we say that a man repeatedly glancing at a woman or staring at her assets isn't normal, then we're not necessarily saying that it isn't normal for him and his friends compared to their own baseline, their own subgroup averaged against each other. It may very well be normal, normalized. What we mean is that it isn't normal compared to a baseline of what is healthy. And that is a huge difference. So if that behavior, that consuming, sexual arousal, gratification, lusting, is generally commonplace in your community, then it would be very likely to be considered pretty normal. It's normal to the baseline. It's normal to the average disregarding, staring at her assets. Yes, you see what I did there. Yeah. Pun completely intended. Even if it isn't normal to the broader baseline of healthy, though, if that's what everybody does in your church community, in your neighborhood, in the work group of where, or the sports teams or whatever, of where you hang out, it will be considered normalized. And if you did a poll of that group, it would be normal. In a society where 50% or more of adult Christian married men, now do you see what I did there? I narrowed down age, marital status, and community. Adult Christian married men. In a society where a minimum of 50% of adult Christian married men are watching porn at least sometimes, maybe not daily, but at least sometimes, and where even non-porn consumers are taught in church that women are subjugated to their authority simply based on the genitalia they were born with, then if we are depending on popular numbers to give our baseline of normal, we're going to get unhealthy results. We are going to be disappointed in the results, and it is going to feel like every man does this. Simply because the subgroup in which you are existing has these common factors as their baseline. Because lust is normalized for far too many men and some women. Lust is normalized in the whopping majority of movies, music, TV shows, cartoons, other entertainment. It's normalized. Sexually consuming other people and discarding and arousal for gratification and voyeurism, it is normalized in the church and outside in the world. So if you're looking at normalized, yes, it's there. I have this weird, look at that, fun little light reflection. Lust is normalized. A pornified style of relating is normalized in every single sermon in church that talks about men being bewitched by a short skirt and then blasts women for somehow not managing to successfully balance be smoking hot for your husband and also wear sackcloth and ashes in public to avoid being a trigger for any man's imagination ever, possibly anywhere. These are messages that normalize lust and consumption. They normalize sin, both inside and outside the church. But while it is good to have information about what has become normalized in the larger context, and that's important, because we need to know what the normalized baseline is outside of our own little subgroups. Because in some subgroups, it's probably 95% of men. And in other subgroups, it might be 30% of men. So we need to know what is the larger normalized baseline to get an accurate picture of where our culture stands at the moment. That's important. But none of that should become our baseline for what we are working toward as healthy. None of that should be our baseline for what we accept as good and right and safe. Just because everyone in your subgroup is doing it, and by doing it, I mean looking lustfully, watching porn, consuming other women with their eyes, with their minds, with their thoughts, or vice versa upon occasion. Just because everyone else assumes that that is acceptable and normal does not make it morally or socially or sexually appropriate. Because there is no context in which lust, not even marriage, in which lust is healthy, godly, biblically justified, or acceptable. So it is excellent and needed for us to have a snapshot of where our society stands in the larger, broader context. And it is also absolutely crucial that we do not normalize that snapshot as our new baseline for what we accept as healthy. Because healthy is what God says. Healthy is loving, joyful, peaceful, patient, good, gentle, kind, and self-controlled and faithful. That is healthy. Healthy is controlled and regulated in sexuality and in thinking. Healthy is faithfulness to your own spouse and faithfulness to your own relationship with God when you do not have a spouse. Healthy is recognizing sexuality as a gorgeous and wonderful gift from God and not exploiting it for the sake of one's own gratification in order to just have what you want regardless of consent and commitment and mutuality. Healthy is not just normal. And whatever has been normalized, if it is not being normalized based on the standard of what God has created us for, in beautiful, safe, mutual, satisfying, incredible sexual connection with our partners and our spouses, then if we're not normalizing to God's baseline, to a healthy, safe baseline, then the fact that it is normalized is interesting, but it should not inform what we do and how we handle things. It's simply information, not a prescription. All right, those are my thoughts for this morning. I would love to know what you think and what your thoughts are with this, how this resonates with you. Keep it classy, keep it kind, and if you have not yet downloaded our brand new TraumaMAMAs app and joined our weekly resources membership community for $1 a month, go get on that. It's traumamamas.app/get. Register there. I will personally send you an email with download links for everything. So there's that. Go get yourself the app, join the resources, and yeah, we want you in the community. Have a great weekend.